Saigon business shoutouts for this episode are for Mila Mushroom's New York Pizza in Taodian District 2. Get the supreme pizza and taste the dream. Nutrinuts in District 2, where you can get top quality organic nuts and non dairy milk. Cholo Tequila Bar in District 2, where you can party with the Latino community in Saigon.
Welcome to another episode of the Lux Saigon podcast, where your voice can be heard. This time we are joined by Coach Prarthana. She is a clarity, confidence, and purpose coach. This topic of purpose has been coming up so often this month, so this whole conversation felt like synchronicity. What happens when you find the thing you are good at, that is meaningful for you, and that the world needs? We invite you to find out.
All right, yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm here with Prarthana. And Prarthana, where are you calling us from today?
I'm calling from Bangalore, India.
Where exactly is that?
It's South India.
Oh, okay. How close is that to Tamil Nadu?
It's super close. It is close. It's like the neighboring state.
Oh, for
So
real?
I'm in Karnataka, which is, yeah, it's a neighboring state.
That's awesome. Yeah, last year for Lunar New Year, I went to Tamil Nadu with some friends from here. I live in Vietnam right now.
Okay, awesome.
So some
Yeah, I
of
love
us.
Vietnam.
Oh, you've been here too? Awesome.
Yeah, I've been to Vietnam like twice in a span of 3 months. That's how much I loved it. I was like, I gotta go back.
Did you go to Saigon?
Is that Ho Chi Minh?
Ho Chi Minh, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, so like yeah, I wanted to call you today because like you have more experience in coaching than me for sure. Like I'm just starting off and I have some
Okay.
friends who are also just starting as well. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you, yeah, like how did your journey to becoming a life coach begin?
Okay, so I would say it started like 2 years ago when I decided that I wanted to be a life coach. And the decision came from a lot of past work, I would say. So I've always been a very spiritual person. I've been reading a lot of personal development, self-growth books growing up. So I was always interested in mental wellness. And I was studying in Singapore, actually, close to Vietnam. And when
Nice.
I was in Singapore, I was studying business and marketing. So it was very business-minded types.
Mm,
And then I realized that while I was doing marketing for firms and for like PR agencies, marketing agencies, social media management, I realized that this is just not my calling. Like there's something missing
mm,
in these jobs that I was doing. Like I wasn't feeling very fulfilled. And I couldn't really see how I was impacting someone positively. And I kind of wanted a day-to-day life where I know that my work is impacting someone else.
mm,
Otherwise, I'm just not motivated. Like for me, the motivation is it comes from service, like it comes from giving. So that's something that was missing in my internships. And then I decided to like quit. I actually quit all of them earlier than they were supposed to be done.
mm,
And then I decided to get into like the mental wellness space. I started off with doing marketing for therapists, like
mm,
marketing for therapists, marketing for coaches, marketing for counselors. But I was doing a lot of SEO, SEM stuff, which again, it's a lot of like strategy, a lot of data analytics. And again, I was like, I still feel like this is not my thing.
mm,
And then I was like, why don't I just get into it? Like become a coach because that's what I want to do. So why not just get into it? So right off college, I got certified. So certified as a Mind Valley coach. And then I also did my NLP. So it's neuro linguistic programming. So I studied that.
nice.
And I studied positive psychology again in Singapore itself. So I did an extended duration of like my education where I did a diploma in positive psychology. And I graduated from all of these at the same time, which was insane. Like graduated from everything in December last year. So in Jan, I full-time started practicing being a coach. And yeah, it's been like a really wild journey. Like I wouldn't say it's been a very like linear journey. It's been um very like up and down with a lot of inner work, which I didn't realize
Mm,
was needed. Like there's a lot of things that I'm doing for myself and growing individually, holistically as a person first before I put myself out as a coach. So there's just so much BTS, like behind the scene work that
mm.
that like I feel like not a lot of entrepreneurs talk about it, but I feel like entrepreneurship as a journey, it's very spiritual, especially if you're a coach. I guess you'll understand that more, which is that there's a lot of inner work and there's also the execution part. So that's external work. So
Mm,
it's like having a balance of both in your business, which is something that I'm doing now. And I've realized that it's very fulfilling. It's honestly like one of the most fulfilling feelings ever, and I wouldn't want to do anything other than this.
mm. I saw you posted today something that said like you want to meet spiritual entrepreneurs. So like,
Yeah.
how would you define a spiritual entrepreneur?
So I would define a spiritual entrepreneur as someone who wants to start their own business for the intention of impacting and serving the world. And when I say impacting and serving the world, it's spirituality comes from a place of, again, believing in a higher consciousness, believing that we're all connected, believing in the power of the universe, right? So that's something I've deeply believed in. And I think that also impacts a lot of my business. So how I view, for example, rejection, how I view getting a no, the whole resilience like aspect of my personality comes from my spiritual being. I mean,
Mm,
it's really impacted every other aspect of my life in terms of my belief system, but being spiritual has given me like immense faith in the process because it's a really scary process. I mean, entrepreneurship is super risky, scary. You don't, there's no certainty, you know? So there are times where you just want to give up. And I think spirituality is what like gets me on track when I feel like giving up. It's like
mm,
it shows me that there's a path. So, you know, giving up could be going against your heart's desire, right? Because the reason I'm on this path is because I desired it in the first place, which means I'm on the right path because I desired it. It was an internal, deep desire.
mm,
So that shows me that it's an aligned path for me. But then when I overthink it and when I want to like give up because things are not working my way, then that causes a lot of like frustration, confusion, and that kind of shows me that I'm moving towards the wrong direction, which is the whole feeling of giving up
mm,
and maybe going back to the corporate or maybe doing an MBA, whatever it is that society tells you to do, which I don't believe is going to help me at all.
mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
One of my friends that he's trying to be a new coach soon, like just like me. His question for you is how did you discover your niche?
Oh my God. This is a long answer. This is such a long answer, but my niche has shifted so many times. It's insane.
Mm,
Like I started off as an empowerment coach. Okay, honestly, I feel like I'm still an empowerment coach because empowerment is a wide word, you know.
mm,
But I started off calling myself an empowerment coach. Then I got into purpose coaching. So I was helping students, a lot of students figure out, like gain more clarity on their purpose in terms of what career to get into, or in terms of even in an entrepreneurship part, what kind of business to start. Then I realized that students are not profitable. They can't pay me.
true.
And I had to like talk to their parents, and sometimes, especially Indian parents, do not understand the concept of coaching. I don't blame them. But coaching again is very new, especially in the East, right? And counseling and therapy is still, you know, the stigma is
Mm,
like just wearing off a little bit on that. And now we're coming up with coaching. So people are like, what is coaching now? How is it different from counseling? How is it different from therapy? So it's just that I realized there was a lot more work I had to do to get one client, like a lot of work.
mm,
Because I have to talk to parents, then I have to convince them that what I have to first explain what coaching is. It's such a new concept. Then convince them of my value and then convince them of my price. It was
mm,
just a lot of work, and then also make sure the student was on the same track. So sometimes I was getting parents who were coming to me and wanting me to coach their kids, but then their kids just didn't get the whole point. So it was like I wasn't getting ideal clients. Like I wasn't getting the people I wanted to work with. I
mm,
wanted to work with emotionally mature spiritual people who get my belief system and who get my values. Working with someone who have aligned values, it's like the most freeing emotion ever. And it's also you can help them transform a lot better. Like your work will have a higher impact if you're working with someone who aligns in terms of your value system. Because if
mm,
someone doesn't believe in your values, they won't respect you enough to like really like be committed to you in
mm,
terms of the coaching. So then I realized that this was not working out for me. Like the the purpose clarity coaching, which I was doing with students, was not working out. And then I was deciding to get into like a more profitable niche. And then I got a little wavered over here. I'm going to be very honest. I decided to become a marketing coach.
Mm,
But again, I felt unfulfilled. It was like the same feeling in my internships in Singapore. I was just like, no, this is not what I want. Like, I want to talk about wellness and I want to talk about spirituality. And even though there's a lot of spirituality behind marketing, I'm not just a marketing coach. Like, I don't want to be termed a marketing coach.
mm,
So then I moved into what I am now, which I would still say is a purpose coach, but it's more for entrepreneurs or burnt out corporates. So corporate employees. So now I'm
mm.
like targeting another age group, but at the same time, what I'm helping them with is live a life of purpose through their online business. So now it's very specific in the sense that I'm helping them build and start their own online brand, whether that's coaching, whether that's therapy, whether that's like any healing modalities, whether that's an artist, anyone who wants to start their own brand online, I help them with like the mindset, the energy work, as well as the strategy work. So there is still the marketing bit. It's just like a smaller portion, and that comes out of the alignment and mindset work. So that leads up to what strategies we're using. Because I'm not going to be here telling you what to do and telling you this is a good place to get on to. Like Facebook platform is a good platform to get on, or LinkedIn is good, or Instagram is good. It's more of like, there are a lot of questions behind what platform you should get on, right? For example, what are you comfortable on? What makes you excited? What is your target audience on? So there are a lot of like questions that you need to ask before just giving advice. And I feel like a lot of marketing consultants and coaches out there just give advice.
Mm,
And that's not really taking you on a place of alignment, right? Like it it probably could waver you from your path of alignment because they're just telling you what to do, whether
true.
you are excited about it or whether you are stressed about it. They just tell you what to do. So I was like, I just don't want to call myself a marketing coach for that reason, in the sense that, yeah, I do help you with marketing in terms of growing an online brand, but my marketing is very aligned. It's not traditional marketing.
Mm,
So that's why I was like, I wanted to make sure that my content brings out the fact that I might be talking about content, marketing, strategies, and all of that, but my main content is all about purpose, alignment, clarity, confidence. So that's what I'm very excited to talk about. And that's how I
nice.
found my, yeah, it's like what you're really excited about. That should be what really makes you feel at peace, and also what makes you feel excited and passionate to talk about.
Mm. This is perfect because Calvis's next question, because I told him that you were like a purpose coach. So his question is, how does one discover their purpose?
Yeah, now this question is, it's like, I can talk about my journey of discovering my purpose, but I
Right.
feel
Yeah.
like it's different for everyone.
Mm,
My journey has been something that went like me being a very curious kid. Like I always questioned why I'm here. Again, that comes from me being very spiritual, and I was just very concerned about like how I'm going to help this world. Like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing over here? How am I supposed to help people? So I kept like asking myself that question. You know how everyone's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I had
mm,
so many things I wanted to be at that point of time when I was younger. And I just had like this calling or this inner knowing that I'm made for a lot more. Like something within me told me that you're made for more than what you're doing right now. And I was very stuck in the societal framework of working hard, hustling to get good grades, to get a good job in college, to get into the best college. Firstly, that was a huge thing. Like me and
mm,
my friends competing to get into the best college in the US or the best college in Southeast Asia. It was like crazy. And I feel like now looking back, I just don't understand what all that pressure was for. It was unnecessary.
mm,
But the way I found my purpose was just um number one would just be questioning, like asking why you're here, being curious about it, and then following your interests with that curiosity. So first would be like questioning, then would be, if anything interests you, research, like go out there, there's Google, just research on it, talk to people, connect with people who are doing something similar to what you think would be interesting, and also start putting yourself out as like your interests, put it out. So it could be through your platforms, it could be through the people you meet. Start talking more about your interests, and that way you'll connect with more people who are interested in the same things and have the same values as you. And that will make it more, like, it will solidify what you are really passionate about. So for me, when I started doing my research on life coach, so I didn't actually do my research on life coaching. I was just into spirituality a lot. I started reading a lot of books and I started posting a lot of what I was learning on Instagram. Then I started growing a little bit and I started meeting a lot of other people posting similar things because that's how the algorithm works.
Nice.
So I started meeting other coaches and then I was like, wait, what is a coach? Like, what do they do? And then I worked with a coach 2 years ago. And she helped me with business, but also with a lot of mindset stuff. Like, I didn't realize she was helping me with the mindset stuff. Because I guess I had a stigma with coaching too. Like, I was just like, I can work on my own mindset myself. Like, why do I have to pay like so much money for this? So I had the whole stigma around it, and she called herself a business coach. That's why I invested in her. But while working with her, I realized it was a lot of energy work. It wasn't too
Mm,
much strategy. It was a lot of mindset, energy work. And then I was like, I didn't even know I needed this till I did it, you
right.
know? And then I understood what coaching was. And I decided that this seems very, very, very similar to what I would love to do. Like I would do this
Mm,
for free. I would if you didn't give me money for it, I would still coach for free. Like I wouldn't do it because of the whole like I now believe that money is energy. I've been reading this book called Money and the Law of Attraction. And
looks so familiar.
yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
Esther and Jerry Hicks.
Yeah.
So I literally like I love them. I feel like everything they say makes a lot of logical sense, but it's very spiritual also.
Mm,
And I feel like spirituality and logic go hand in hand. Um, so yeah, this book has been super life-changing in the sense that my mindset around money has changed a lot. But coaching is something I would like, I can see myself doing forever. So
mm,
I kind of like said, like, maybe I could get into this. So I just kept it as an option, like, maybe I could get into this. I never dove into it because of college. I was still in college and I was in a marketing degree. So it seemed very irrational to everyone around me to get into coaching. So it took me a while to get into it, to like work on my mindset, to be brave enough to be like, I'm a life coach, and then
mm.
start calling myself a life coach.
But
And then
you're
I feel
young,
like,
right? Like right now you're like what, like 23 or something, right?
yeah, exactly. I'm 23. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, being young is such a huge limiting belief. Like everyone I've been talking to, in the sense that when you go for these social parties and stuff, people are like, "What do you do?" And I'm like,
mm,
"I'm a life coach." The eyebrows that have been raised, like
mm, mm,
everyone is so confused at the fact that I'm a life coach. And then they're like, so what exactly is a life coach? Like, what exactly do you do? And then I explain my niche to them and I explain what I do. And then you're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, we don't know anyone else who's doing that. And I feel like I'm the only one, like the youngest coach in India doing something like this. And because of that, it's like, it's even more scary because you don't have another example to see that, oh, it's working for them, so it'll work for you. So it's like a lot of times I'm operating from a place of hope, like
mm,
operating from a place of the future, not from the past. Because if I look at my past and look at what's worked in the past in terms of like examples of youngsters who started off as a coach, I don't have many examples, to be honest. Like I don't know anyone else who's as young as me who's a coach in India. I just
mm,
don't. And the reason I'm saying in India, because I'm talking about the Eastern culture being very different from the Western culture. But but yeah, going back to how like I found my purpose. So yeah, I got a life coach myself, realized that this is something I can do forever. Then I also, what gave me more confirmation on wanting to be a life coach was um personality tests being one.
mm,
So really understanding me and my personality. So I'm a person who's very empathetic. I wasn't a good listener, but throughout my years in Singapore, I joined this community called Peer Helpers, which was part of my university. And it teaches you how to be a better listener and how to be a better supporter for your friends. So it's like it comes under counseling, it's under the mental wellness sector in my university. So I joined that for 4 years and I have become such a good listener after those 4 years. It's crazy. So then
nice.
I realized that I actually, yeah, I have a strength which is in listening. I've always been someone who's empathetic. I feel like I can deeply understand the other person. All of this makes me a great coach. So my strengths lie in this. So I use the whole ikigai model, the Japanese model
Mm,
of ikigai, which is
nice.
the intersection of what are you good at, what is something that you're passionate about, what is something the world needs, and what is something the world will pay you for. So I use this model to kind of understand that coaching is something I want to get into. So yeah, I would say, okay, so the first step would be just to summarize my answer because it was a very big answer. The first step would be questioning, like just being curious about why you're here, being curious about your purpose, going out there, seeing what other people are doing, you know. Number two is following your interests and putting yourself out there with your interests. So either posting more of those things, um, or researching more of those things could really help with understanding the different things that you could do. And then number three would be personality tests. So I did the MBTI and also human design, which is amazing. Like it really helps you understand the way you work. It helps you understand your personality better. A lot of things. It helps you understand yourself on a much deeper level, and also leads to self-acceptance, because then you stop criticizing yourself for being a certain way, and then you realize that you're designed this way. So then you realize how you can use your design to be more efficient rather than criticizing yourself. So for me, human design helped with a lot of self-acceptance. I just started accepting myself the way I am without listening to the world, because now it's like after gaining the self-awareness through, you know, just being curious about life is how I gain self-awareness. I realize that I'm a lot smarter than I think I am. And I should just trust my gut and my intuition rather than listening to the world. So I started doing that a lot more. So even when I got into coaching, it was because I trusted my intuition. If I listened to the people around me, I wouldn't have ever been a coach. So I would say, like, you know, you got to just trust your gut. You got to go with, like, firstly, being curious, understanding who you are. And the Ikigai framework really helps you, like, understand where you want to be. So the personality test actually showed me, like, I have this book, let me actually talk about it, called Do What You Are.
Mm-hmm.
It's about discover the perfect career for you through the secrets of personality type. So you look at your personality type and you discover like what career would go well with that personality type. And under my personality type, which is an ENFJ, a lot of it is coaching, mentoring, counseling. And my human design also talks about, you know, guidance, advice, support. So it was like insane how like both of them kind of showed me that I am kind of confirmed that I am on the right path, I'm on the aligned path. But
Mm-hmm.
these are all external things. I mean, when you're on the aligned path, you will feel it from within. Like you will just be a lot more happier, you will be more focused in life, you will have this, you know, looking forward attitude. I feel like a lot of things changed for me once I got into coaching full time. So
Mm-hmm.
when you start something, like for me, when I started coaching, I was still into, my head was in two places. One was like coaching full time, and one was like, if this doesn't work, there's a plan B, go back to the corporate, get into an MBA, whatever. So I was always wavering between these two. Now I've stopped looking at the plan B. I don't think about my plan B at all. There's only one plan, which is plan A, which is coaching full time. And there's only one outcome, which is I will succeed. That's it.
Mm.
So there is no need for a plan B because I will succeed on plan A. So that's the kind of like faith and trust that I feel like spirituality has enabled me to do, which I hope to enable my clients to have in themselves in terms of my niche now, which is enabling them to also have that kind of courage and bravery to go out there and start their own thing and make it a success through a lot of alignment and mindset work other than strategy.
Mm-hmm. One thing that on this podcast has come up a few times is like the intuition and faith, but not necessarily like religious faith, right? It's like how would you describe like the faith that you learned through spirituality?
Yeah, it is different from religious in the sense that I don't believe in idol worship, which is something that Hindus believe a lot in, which is very religious for us. But there are certain things I do believe in, which could be considered both religious and spiritual. I think faith as a concept can help a lot of people. Like there are a lot of people who get faith from religion, and a lot of people who get faith from spirituality.
Mm.
There are overlaps too. So it's a very convoluted topic. But for me personally, my faith comes from mainly my future self.
Mm.
So I would say it's spiritual. The reason is I do believe in the power of the universe, but I also believe that there are multiple versions of ourselves in the future. And
Mm.
we get to decide which version we want to get into or which version we want to embody. We can choose that today.
Mm.
So for me, faith is when I feel very low on confidence, when I feel like giving up, what I do is I do a visualization meditation. So I go and meet my future self, who is Pratna, say 5 years down the line, maybe Pratna 1 year down the line. So multiple things where it could be multiple milestones. So I think of different phases of my future where I am, and I meet a different version of my future self every day. So I do this every day so that I just have unwavering faith and confidence. That's why it's a very consistent habit. But on days when I'm low, I do it like more than once. Sometimes I do it twice. And the reason is I just want to go there, meet my future self, and get the assurance from her for two reasons. Firstly, like she makes me feel very self-reliant. This way, I don't have to rely on my friends or my family for external validation. And I feel like relying on that external validation is very it just wavers a lot, right? Like it feels like it's out of your control, and it feels very needy and desperate. But when you have like a resource within you where you go to your future self and ask them for guidance, and you can do this at your own time, at your own pace, whenever, wherever, it just feels a lot more safe to me to have this ability. And all of us have it, of course. It's just that, so there's this meditation where I just sit in one position upright, sometimes I sleep on my bed and do it. And I'm just constantly focused on the guided visualization, which is that I leave my body, go all the way up, quantum leap, which is like I go into the future, I see the earth revolving around the sun, I go into the future, come back down to the earth, and then I'm literally standing in front of that future version of myself. And then she tells me something and she guides me through the difficulties I'm facing today. So it's very similar to writing a letter to your future self and asking for guidance, or writing a letter to your past self. All of those things are also amazing manifestation techniques, and they also really help with creating unwavering faith. So that's where my faith comes. It comes from my future self. It comes from doing these guided visualization meditations. And I like emphasize that, and I create a belief system in my mind to have this faith through repetition. That's why I said I repeat doing this every day. And I also listen to the Law of Attraction podcast, which is again by the same authors of this book. So Esther and Jerry Hicks, they have a podcast called Manifestation, or Law of Attraction, something on those names. I'll just tell you actually. Yeah, it's called Abraham Hicks. It's just called Abraham Hicks. That's the podcast. You can just listen to the episodes from there, and it's insane. Like it makes so much sense. It's a question and answer episode. So someone's asking a question, and Jerry or Abraham is answering. So it's like a question answer podcast, very conversational, very fun to listen to. I listen to it on the way to the gym every day. So that again kind of repeats in my mind. Like it helps me have more and more faith every day. So my faith just keeps increasing on a daily basis. And then I also start reflecting on experiences in life and look at it in a positive way. So for example, like I told you about rejection, when you get rejected, I look at it as making more space for something better to come, right? So for example, last month, actually, two clients last minute, like super last minute, rejected me. One based on my price, and the other one was based on, personal traveling reasons. So I was pretty upset about that. And then I realized that I'm attaching my worth to my clients. Being upset made me realize that I've completely attached myself to,
True.
getting clients. Yeah. And then I realized that, it's all right. Like I need to start trusting the process. And again, I did a visualization meditation, which really helped me like, ground myself and get back to getting my power back. And then literally like 4 days later, I got another client who paid me more than what both the previous clients were going to pay me.
Nice.
So that's the evidence for me to believe that if I'm getting rejected, the universe is just making space for something better, for something more aligned to come my way. So just about like to keep going. That's how I look at rejection now. Because when I was younger, I was always pressurized to perform my best in the sense of getting A+ all the time, right? And I would pressurize myself, and again, like pure pressure and all of those things. But now I realize that it was a very masculine way of living life. Like it was very, very hustly, hardworky. Like I was always hardworking, I was always hustling, and I wasn't enjoying life. But now I've realized that there's a much better way to live life that I wasn't aware of before. And I do believe that you can live an easy, smooth, enjoyable life and still impact people in a big way and still be earning well. Like you don't have to work hard to earn money. It's a whole mindset shift. Like hard work is not equal to success. Aligned work is equal to success.
I think we've mentioned aligned a few times. Like, Like, yeah, how would you define aligned?
Again, living in purpose is alignment. So purpose is what? It's the intersection of what you're good at. So your strengths,
Mm,
what you really love to do, what you're passionate about, what the world needs and what the world will pay you for. So the first two parts, which is what you're good at and what you love to do. What you love to do is your passion, or what you're good at. When you put it together, it can be your purpose. You can serve people with it because it's something you're good at. And the more and more you refine it, you become more of like a master at it, or more of an expert at it. And when you're really good at something you love to do, you reach a stage where people will be desperate to work with you. People will be desperate to pay you.
mm,
And that's what I deeply believe in, is that just focus on a few things. Like, we're all very multi-passionate. So maybe focus on how you can get all of it together in one thing, but every day do something that's going to take you closer to your future self. That's what
mhm,
alignment is. Alignment is firstly understanding your goals in life. Like, what do you really want from life? And is it coming from you, or is it coming from someone else? Like, are you living someone else's life, or are you living your own life? All that happens through, like, the way I've done that is through journaling. I've understood what is my aligned path through journaling, and understanding like, okay, this would make me happy. But just because someone else has, say, like a huge house, a mansion of a house, just because they have it and they seem super happy in it, doesn't mean that I would be happy in it.
mhm,
So it's like not attaching, not looking at what other people are doing and then using that as a metric for your happiness, but either looking at what do you think will give you a lot of fulfillment in life.
mhm,
So my goals come from a place of what gives me fulfillment. And so I know they are my aligned goals. Once I have that, I create like, so the three important questions which we studied in Mind Valley, I use that tool to get very clear on the future self, on my future vision, which is, what experiences do I want to have? How do I want to contribute? And how do I want to grow? I use that to create this vision for myself. And then every day I do something to get closer to that vision. So that's my aligned path. That's how I know I'm in alignment, because the vision seems very, it seems like something that's very me, like authentically me, and it gives me a lot of peace.
mm,
So that's something I've discovered is my aligned path. And that's what I also do with my clients. Like, I help them create this aligned vision by also asking them that, why do you believe? It's like you ask yourself a lot of whys, like, why
mm,
this? And why do you want this? But why do you want this? And it goes back down to the most basic, which is fulfillment or freedom or peace.
mhm. How would you define intuition?
I would define it as an inner voice that we all have. Um, the way we access this inner voice is through meditations, through journaling, through sitting in silence for a bit. The world around us is very chaotic, and I've lost my intuition a lot of times. What I mean by losing my intuition is I just can't hear what I want. I just can't hear
Mm,
it anymore. I don't know what I want. And that confusion comes because I'm listening to so many voices around me that I'm getting more and more confused. And this has happened multiple times in my life. Where like there have been a lot of people advising me what to do, but they don't know me. So it's not the right advice. So it's like, it's more of like just going back to yourself and trusting your gut,
mm,
and realizing that like gut is basically a bodily sensation, like you just feel it. But there's another question that I want to bring up here, because
mm,
I feel like people would have this, right? This question: how do you differentiate between intuition and a limiting belief, like a fear? Like, say that I don't want to do something. For example, I'm going to Singapore for college, right? Say I don't feel like going to Singapore. What if I don't feel like going because I'm scared? Like, I'm just scared. And it's so normal for all of us to be scared to do something different, right?
mm.
So what if that's just a fear and that's not your gut? Your gut's not telling you not to go, but it's the fear. Now, I've had this question for like 2 years. I finally feel like I have the answer, so I'm gonna share it.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Um, So I feel like when you're scared of something, the energy within your body is very chaotic. It's a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos. When you know something is right for you, the energy comes from a place of groundedness. Groundedness in the sense that you feel peace. So even if there's a fear, you just have this inner, again, the inner knowing. You just feel grounded. You feel at peace. It's not even about feeling excited. It's more of like that feeling of peace.
Mm,
So even before investing in my coaches, I have been very scared, like, because it's a big amount, and I have to ask my mom for money because I just graduated college. I don't have enough of my own savings. So it's like a big deal for me to like get the money to pay coaches. And every time I have to pay, I have this huge fear, like, is it going to help? I don't know if it's going to be worth it. Like, I don't know what to do. I get so confused and so overwhelmed, and that energy is so chaotic. And a lot of times the fear is because I'm scared that I'm wasting my mom's money. Like, I'm scared that it could go for waste. But
Mm.
if I just sit in silence, okay, and I just maybe take a break, if I've thought about it too much, take a break and sit in silence and just meditate or meet my future self and ask her what she would do. A lot of the times it's been a very grounded sense of peace. It's been very like when I meet my future self and when I talk to her, it's like, firstly, no matter what I do, like investing in a coach or not is not going to it's not going to make a big difference in my life in the sense of money, in sense of finance. Like, it's not going to deplete a lot of it. So it's not like, it's not coming from a place of scarcity, but more from, will this help me? Will this coaching program take me closer to my future self? And a lot of times the answer is yes.
Mm.
And so again, like, being very careful with aligning your values with a coach and with their principles is very important. But every time I meet my future self and take advice, it's just been a very grounding, like, whenever I feel the groundedness and the peace, I know that I should just take the step forward.
Mm.
So I think that's what would differentiate intuition and fear.
I think I've had a similar situation where, yeah, I wanted to, I committed to following intuition, but sometimes fear would come in and I couldn't tell the difference, and I would just go with the fear sometimes. And I think later, eventually, I kind of started to see that like intuition might tell me to go do something scary, where my fear will be like, no, you should go away from that, and let's not do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Our mind is not here to make us happy. Our mind is to keep us safe. That's what
Mm.
our mind's function is to keep us safe. So every time anything like comes into our life, or anytime we have to take an action that is like scary, our first response is gonna be like, no, don't do it. Like, are you mad?
Mm.
Don't do it. Are you crazy? Um, and so like a lot of times it's our mind just telling us not to do it because it's trying to protect us. But we don't really need that kind of protecting in today's world, like, we don't need um that safety net. I feel like what we need is more people getting out of their comfort zone. Like, what we need is
Hmm.
more bravery, more of us standing up for ourselves, more of us, taking decisions that make us happy, more of us to like, again, create a business that's completely on our terms, live a life that's on our terms first before we serve anyone else. And I
Mm.
think that's the whole aspect of like where selfishness comes first, which is like putting yourself first, which I don't think I wouldn't say it's selfish because you can't pour from an empty cup. But a lot of times I feel like lack of bravery, I've seen it recently in a lot of people where they aren't able to take the necessary steps because they're worried of hurting someone else, or they're worried about, you know, like, not putting someone else first. They don't know, like, I feel like especially women and especially like millennial women, they don't put themselves first at all. Like, I feel like I've just said this is a very recency effect that's happening here. I've met a lot of millennial women recently who've told me who always put their husbands first, they put their families first, and they're not brave enough or courageous enough to take the step for themselves. And that's also
Mm.
because their mind is like telling them not to do it. Like, their mind is trying to keep them safe. And we've also been conditioned to, always put someone else first, to never put ourselves first. We've not been conditioned that way. That
Mm.
needs to change. Yeah.
True. Hey, we have one more minute. Do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
Um, my last thought, which is like, this is something that I'm just very passionate about, is always follow your alignment. So say something causes a lot of suffering and something is very, very difficult and hard in your life. Ask yourself whether it's firstly taking you closer to your future self, because the path of alignment, it's supposed to be a joyful path. It doesn't have to be a very
Mm.
difficult, tedious path. So just remember this, that you can live an amazing life and still make it big. Like, you can be super successful and also have a lot of fun in life. It's not one or the other. It can be both.
It should be like that, right? Like,
It should, yeah,
our
it is
time here
like
is
that. It's
so
like that.
our time here is so limited, so we might
For
as well live
sure.
that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome. I'm gonna log up before this cuts us off, but thank you so much, Prarthana.